I'm working on improving my flash skills.
I've seen your photos. I think you need to.
Well, thanks. Rob Skeoch from Sony Canada is joining me today. We're going to work on getting the flash off the camera and use multiple flash units. Well, Rob, can you start by explaining the setup that you have today and how it's configured?
Sure. I'm using the Sony a7R II. It's a full frame camera, and I've got it paired up with one of the new 85 G Master lenses. I'm at f4 on the lens, and the flash sync is really 250th, but I've got it at 125th, and I'm using ISO 200. That should give us enough ISO as we try different things with the flash and multi-heads as well.
And how is the flash configured?
Right now I've got the flash just on TTL auto. So the camera's on manual for exposure, and the flash is really just set to zero, no compensation, and TTL.
Now the settings that you've just described for us, they're not specific to this camera. You could use those with another flash or another camera as well.
Yeah, exactly. I'm using just a basic setup, and this would work with a lot of different cameras from a lot of different flashes.
So Rob, what could we do to improve the shot that we just took?
Well, the way I've got the flash set right now, it's direct onto the subject. The first thing that you could do is bounce the flash into the ceiling, and that would change the direction of the light. Now, it would have to be a light-colored ceiling.
Which
it couldn't be a giant cathedral.
It's dark and it's far away.
Right. You could also bounce it into a wall. That would work as well. Or you could diffuse the light with a little dome diffuser like that.
And that comes with the flash?
It comes with the flash with this particular model, and I'll just show you what that looks like as well. Ready?
So that's still a lot of direct light falling on me. I assume that if we move the flash off the camera, that it'll look a little softer or a little smoother, or it'll have a little more definition.
Right, you're going to actually have more control if you move the flash off camera. And a lot of cameras have a built-in flash that will work as a controller, and you can take your one unit off camera. This particular camera doesn't have that. So I'm going to leave this on as my controller, and I've got a second unit that I'm going to use as my off-camera flash. Now the first thing I have to do is I have to tell the camera that I'm switching the flash mode. So right now I'm in the TTL, the normal mode, fill flash mode, and I'm going to switch that to wireless. And I'm now going to tell the flash, go into its mode, and tell it that I'm going wireless as well. So this is going to be my controller, and this secondary flash is going to become my main light. I'm going to move that in nice and close. Now I've got an umbrella here. You don't have to use an umbrella. You could go direct. You could use a softbox, but it just allows you to have a bit more control, and with a portrait, probably a little more flattering light. I want to get it as close as I can, but I don't want to see it in the photo. I don't want to see the stand or the bar of the umbrella in the photo.
So is there an ideal position here? I mean, you've got it kind of at this kind of an angle towards me.
Well,
what's the...
You're trying to get light on the one side of the face and hopefully spill over to the other side of the face as well. So a classic Rembrandt kind of look, a lit side, and then that classic triangle underneath the eye. They call it Rembrandt lighting. You see it all the time in videos and movies, and certainly in still photos. So that's a good place to start. And the umbrella should be useful and give us a nice flattering light with that.
So it's as if there's a window here.
With an umbrella, it's a little more direct than a window. If you're using a softbox, then it would be like a window lighting, but the umbrella does give a little more direction to it. All right, so let's take the photo.
Well, first off, incredibly sharp. Almost too sharp, that lens, Rob.
Yeah, so this is the new G Master 85, and this camera's 42 meg, so you've got super high resolution. Maybe for some portraits, it's a little bit too sharp. But we've got better lighting. We've gotten away from having that direct flash with the shadow dropping right behind. The lighting's a little more modeled, coming from the right-hand side, and the shadows and that on the wall are a little bit better too. And it's probably a nicer light on the subject. Now,
is there any point in trying to move the flash here and seeing if there's a different position that might be a better shot?
Yeah, there's always an advantage to playing around with the lights. So if I move the light more to the side, I'm going to get split lighting on you, the subject. If you're looking straight to the camera, I'll get split lighting. So let's try that. All right, looking right here. And let's take a quick look at what that looks like.
Rob, as I'm looking at the lights, both flashes are still going off. Is that intentional? I thought we were just going to work with this one.
No, I've still got this as my fill light. So on camera, a bit of fill, and the umbrella light becomes my main light. Now, they're both firing equal power, so the picture still looks a little flat. It's a ratio, and they're both 1:1 right now. But I can take a photo 1:1 like this, but I can also simply make it 1:2. So now I've got to have a more distinct bright side. So
this is an adjustment on the flash.
An adjustment on this flash. I'm adjusting this flash, and it's communicating with the secondary flash, which has become the main flash in the umbrella.
So you're changing the settings on that flash or on this one?
I'm changing the settings on this flash, but it's communicating and letting that flash let more power out.
And do you need to change the settings on the camera as you do this?
Everything on the camera is staying the same. So I had 1:1, now I'm going 1:2. Now I'm going to go 1:3. 3 stops, but really it's a 1:4 ratio. So this is 1:4. And then again, the next one, 1:8 ratio. And that will give you a distinct look. You'll have a much more distinct bright side, and shadow fill will be quite a bit less.
So Rob, I'm getting pretty pleased with this shot. It looks good. I like the modeling between the two. Is this as good as it gets?
Well, you have to remember, I'm a photographer, not a plastic surgeon.
Okay.
But if we're going to use a fill light and a main light, that's 2 light combination. We've got a great look to you, but we can add a third light. In classic portraiture, they often use a third background light facing towards the subject, but giving a little bit of fill to that shadow side of the face. So let's try that.
Now I'm noticing that the light that you brought here is smaller than the F60s you're using over here on the camera.
Well, you don't have to use the same models. We happen to be using them as the fill and the main, the same models. If you're combining different flashes, that'll work just as well. Still TTL, still all the automatic features. With this model, it's the 32. It allows you to have a slightly less costly flash, and you don't need as much power because we're just filling in a little bit of the shadow on the dark side of the face. The one thing to remember when you're pointing a flash towards the camera is to use your lens hood. You don't want to get any flares because you've got that light coming right back to you.
Right.
So we've got the fill, the main light, and the background light. Let's see what it looks like. And you can see that we've opened up the shadow side of the face a little bit. I've got a little bit on the hair, a little bit on the ear. And if you were wearing a black turtleneck against a black background, it would give that little rim light on your shirt as well. So that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to have a nice ratio between the fill light and the main light, and we're trying to add a little kicker in the background. 3 light combination, and it just allows you to have a more 3-dimensional look to your portraiture.
So you adjusted the ratios when we added this light. Are there ratio adjustments for the backlight as well?
Right. So I've got a 1:8 ratio between my fill and my main light. Right now I'm 1:1 with the background light, but I can go just into that flash, again from the controller. I don't have to walk over to the flash, and I can make that ratio 1:8 as well. You'll see the difference right away. It'll really be a lot brighter on that shadow side. And there you can see it. So maybe 1:8 is a little overpowering, but
dramatic, interesting.
Yes, and you have complete control, so you can go just 1:2. Let's try that as well. So 1:8 between the fill and the main, and 1:2 between the fill and the background light. That's a very nice sort of balance right there, where we've got the main light, the fill light, and that background light. All right, one final shot.
Rob, that's great. I'm really happy with the look of this, and we haven't really spent too much playing, but I have the feeling that we could spend the rest of the afternoon making adjustments to the ratios or changing the umbrellas or the position of the lights. Is that what flash photography is all about?
Well, you're trying to learn how to do it, and there's nothing wrong with playing. We've made it a little more complicated looking than it really is. The flash is TTL with the camera, so they're communicating automatically. And you want to play, find out your own vision, find out what works for this subject. Start with one flash, add a second flash, and then maybe down the road add a third flash. But certainly playing is going to be a lot of your learning and how to have fun with the camera.
That's great. Thanks so much for your time today.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.